Hi everybody, it's me again, and this time I wanted to go through this home and garden warehouse. Got the balance sheet here, as you can see, and the income statement, and I want to go through these ratios so we can go you've got something that'll document how we calculate these ratios. And first of all, let's take the turnovers. Asset turnover, as you can see, takes the total assets and divides them into takes sales and divides it by the assets. So the assets, dividing that in there, is 1.37. And you look at that's better than it was for the preceding year. Now receivable turnover takes receivables and divides them into sales. And so you've got receivables that turn over 39 times a year. That's phenomenal, 39 times a year. And now to verify that, we go day sales, and so we take to get the day sales, we've got 70, which is 70,150, and it's divided by sales divided by 365. So that's inventory is collected in 9 days, just a little over 9 days. So they must do a lot of, not much credit sales, must be people coming into the store and paying cash with a credit card or something like that. But where they've got a problem is in their inventories, because you see their inventory, 641,280, significantly greater this year in 2014 than 2013. And so you can see that turnover takes the sales of it's the cost of sales of 1,942,654 and divides that by the inventories. So the inventory turns over 3 times a year, and last year it was 2. It was actually worse last year than it was. That's really, really bad. Now, to come up with the day sales in inventory, you just take that 3.092 and you take 365 and divide that into 365. So you take 365 and divide it by that 3.026 to come up with the day sales in inventory. Whew! 120 days of day sales in inventory. That's pretty high. It's better this year than it was last year, but still very significant. So they've really increased their they've got a problem in inventories. They've got too much there. Now, earnings per share. Earnings per share, you take the earnings of 155,970 or 793 divided by 455,000 shares. And you can see this year in 2014 it's a little better than it was the preceding year. Now, the price earnings ratio is you take the $5 per share, $5, and this is the share price of $5.05, and you divide that by earnings per share, so you come up with a 14.75%, and it's a little better than it was the preceding year, but that's really quite important. Gross margin. Gross margin takes the gross profit and divides that by the sales, and we come up with a 29.8% gross profit. And it's just a little bit better than the preceding year, but that's pretty consistent. Now, the return on assets takes the assets of let's see, we want to take the net earnings, and we want to add to that the after-tax cost of the interest. We wanted to put the interest back in there, but we want on an after-tax basis. So, and the tax is 35%. So you can see we're going to take that 14,747 and multiply that by 0.65, and we're going to add that. We're going to add that to the 155,793 and divide that by the total assets. So the return on total assets is 7.9%. It's a little better now than it was the preceding year. I hope I haven't butchered that too much, but you take the net income of $155,793, and you got to add that. We got to add that interest expense back in there, but it's got to be an after-tax basis back in there, and then that gets divided by the total assets to come up with the return on the assets. Return on equity. That's kind of an easy one. You take a net income after taxes of $155,793 and divide that by the stockholders' equity of $1,482,202. And you can see we've improved in 2014 over 2013. Current ratio. That's an interesting one. The current ratio for 2014 is 2.139. And that's good. You always want it to be at least 2. And then we go into the acid test ratio, which is you just take the cash and the receivables and divide that by the current liabilities. So you can see when you take that inventory number out of there, boy, that really reduces the ratio. And they're not in that good a spot now. They got too much receivable. They've only got $17,201 in cash and $70,000 in receivable to pay off $347,581. That asset test ratio points out they've really got a problem there. The debt to equity ratio takes the total debt of $602,104 and divides that by the $1,482,000. So that shows you about what the percent is of debt, and it is significant, more significant this year in 2004 than it was the preceding year, because we added so much net income, or not income, long-term debt. Times interest earned. This takes the interest, the operating income of $254,428, and divide interest expense into it, and says we could pay that interest off 17 times. And it's significantly less than the preceding year, because you can see the preceding year, I did something wrong there. I guess it's down here that I want to do it, isn't it? So you can see the preceding year was $198,009 was in the operating income, but interest expense was just $3,737. So there's a huge turnover there. Anyway, I know I've stumbled through this a little bit. I hope you can understand it, and I hope you can spend time in your evening hours studying it through. Thank you very much.